talk about something today. We're going to talk about second causes, okay? So I'm just making sure, sorry, we're just getting settled in class. We're just getting settled in. Start a poll. I am actually going to start a poll while everybody's here. So if you see me doing some weird stuff and you're watching my video back, that's what I'm doing, okay? So, let's see, what does this mean? Add option, add your comments here. Let's see. Sorry, you're gonna see what it is in a minute. Yes or no? Yes. Yes. No. Let's just start the poll. You know what I'm saying? Let's just start it. Oh, is it gonna let me? Let me start the poll. Oh, no problem. What does that mean? All right, so is it gonna let me start the poll, people? People. All right, so we're gonna leave that one alone. Okay, so let's talk about second causes and dopamine rituals. So if you know me, you know I'm big on neuroscience, right? And so, guys, hang on. It's gonna glitch here for a second, but it's because I need to make sure this is shared. So it's gonna do something weird right now. But walk with me. Talk about it, shall we, kids? Welcome to the channel. Welcome. Okay, so we're gonna talk about second causes and dopamine rituals, okay? Now, we got to really deep dive into second causes because I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of judgment, like judging other people, because I think we misunderstand what Neville means by second causes, okay? So, okay, where do we start here? Do we start with the misunderstandings? Do we start with the understandings? Okay, so why does Neville talk about second causes? That's I think a first and foremost thing that we need to be aware of, okay? Is that second causes are things outside of you, okay? So second causes are also a form of power, okay? So second causes are a form of power. Don't forget to tap the screen, right? Second causes are a form of power, right? And so Neville Goddard talks about what second causes are. Are you with me? So he does actually talk about second causes, but why does he talk about second causes? Well, I think we have to really grasp what he means when he's talking about second causes, because again, I find way too many people judging others. Like, wait a minute, aren't you using a second cause? Here's the thing. Second causes mean it can be anything. That means you can use anything to give your power away. Check this out. This is gonna be crazy. You can use Neville Goddard as a second cause. You can use your religion as a second cause. You can use your parents as a second cause. Don't worry, I'm gonna define what second causes are. But you can use anything in your life as a second cause. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. You can use a memory, you can use an emotion, you can use an inanimate object, you can use a rock as a second cause, right? Or The Rock, or Kevin Hart. It doesn't matter, right? And so basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna explore what this second cause is, right? And we're gonna explain why Neville talks about the second cause. Are you with me, people? So, second causes are, here you go. Second causes are not just things outside of you. They are always things inside of you. Do you get that? Because the problem is people hear second causes and they automatically think, oh, this is something that I'm giving my power away to. Yes, that's true. It can be outside of you. It does not have to be outside of you, okay? Second causes can be inside of you, okay? Most of the time, by the way, anything that you're giving your power away starts from the inside and eventually can be measured on the outside, okay? Are you with me? So second causes just mean, for the sake of a better understanding of second causes, it's how am I giving my beliefs away? But here's the thing, it's not just beliefs, because remember, what are your beliefs? They're repeated memories. So you're giving your repeated memories away. Don't worry, we're gonna make sense of this, which means you're giving your identity away, okay? But let's go a step back and explain this, because again, I think people really misunderstand what second causes are and why it matters with manifestation. Okay, so, but first and foremost, what are second causes? Well, here's the nature of it. The nature of any second cause is that it can be anything, okay? Are you with me? The nature of any second cause can be anything, okay? With me? All right, so second thing, the nature of a second cause is also bound up in your memories. Why is it so big, or why is it such a big deal that our friend Neville Goddard, right, said that essentially the one thing that he came here to do was to teach us how to revise. But what are we revising? He even says, this is beautiful actually, is that we're revising our memories, right? He even talks about one of the biblical metaphors about some, like, basically annoying woman who goes to the king, right? And she basically annoys him, whittles him down to almost nothing. And she is actually kind of lying about her tares, okay? It'd be like taxes, right? And so what she stands for, though, is a person who is modifying, changing, revising, changing their emotions and feelings and interpretations and perceptions about their memories, okay? So second causes, this is crazy. When you think about second causes as a form of memory, okay? Ooh, I got a Kindle, new Kindle Summer Challenge. Okay, so when you think of second causes as that is something that's connected to your memories, then it changes the game, okay? Because when you understand that second causes are about your memories, and they're about a certain type of memory, and those are the memories that you don't change, right? So when you are not changing your memories, that is not changing your identity, right? So if you have a memory, for example, that brings out fears, okay? And these are, let's say, fears around money, or fears about self-rejection, or fears about blah, whatever, fill it in, okay? But there's a memory that's attached to it, okay? Which means, like, I remember when I was 9. I remember when I was 12, right? I remember when whatever, okay? And by the way, I want to say that some of these memories can be so ingrained within you that you don't even feel like you can actually access that memory, which means you can't even remember it. It's like, even Neville talks about that, right? He's like, listen, for some people, it's harder to access the memory. But that's not because you can't if you do the mental work. It's because you have identified as the person with that memory that you can't seem to separate your identity without that memory, right? So are you with me so far? If you're with me, let me know, okay? Hope you're doing well today. Let me know what you're doing on Monday. Happy Monday. So, when you think of second causes as basically, let me just say it this way. Second causes are better understood as your stuck memories, okay? Why? Because when you identify yourself as a limited being, like meaning you don't have love, you don't have money, you don't have whatever it is, right? Well, then you're identifying through an old memory. You're identified through an old story. You're identified through an old identity. Are you with me so far? So then when you understand that second causes are old memories, that's really what it is. But it's a memory that you can't seem to get rid of, then guess what's going to happen? You're always going to give your power away. You are, because that's the memory that says that you need to give your power away. Are you with me? So this is a better understanding of what second causes are. Because second causes are, yes, you're giving your power away to something outside of you, and you think this object is more powerful than you. But the problem is that you have a set of memories that have taught you to give that power away. So then it's going to make sense to you in such a way that it's going to sound logical, right? That you're like, oh, of course I'd give my power away. Of course it's my mom. Of course it's my boss. Of course it's my... Do you hear that? You're gonna start talking about how it's inevitable that a certain thing happens a certain way. And that is how you are giving your power away. Are you with me? Right? So let me just give these links away. Sorry, it's gonna freeze for a little bit, but just give me a second. What you're doing is you are giving your power away. But what is power? Power meaning the ability to create what you desire. That's what it means to give your power away. You are saying, hey, I don't have enough power because my landlord has more power. I don't have enough power because my parents have more power. I don't have enough power because my religion has more power. I don't have enough power because my gender group has more power, right? Or whatever it is. You're giving yourself an excuse, but the excuse is reinforced by a memory. This is why when I say that second causes are about memories, and it's better to understand that a second cause is about memory. That's what it is. A memory that you are not giving up, because a memory is your identity. A memory is the scope of what you think you're capable of. So that's what second causes are. It's, hey, I don't think I can do this, right? And of course you can. So feel that power. Feel that power when you start using the thing, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Everything is possible. Then you're taking your power back. You're releasing the power away from a second cause. I can pay my bills. I can be loved. I can be excited. I can be confident. I can live the life of my dreams. I can feel healthy, right? I can. But when you feel like you can't, that's a second cause. But that's all tied up with a memory and an emotion, right? That's why I say second causes are about emotions or memories, right? And it's emotion with a memory. Are you with me? It says 2 people are on right now. So nobody's chatting, but let me know if you understand what I'm saying, right? When you're manifesting, you must manifest from a memory, right? And this memory is usually something in your childhood. But again, the memory is telling you that you can't, because based on what has happened before, you are saying, I can't. So then therefore, you have given your power away. Thank you, Godzilla, right? And so again, what you're dealing with though, is you're dealing with a series of memories that you keep reinforcing with emotions, with powerful emotions, because you think that memory cannot be changed. Hence why, let's go back to what Neville said. I'm here for one thing, to teach you how to revise. And that means to unlearn that emotion. That means to give up that emotion. Because if you're trying to manifest and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, because like, for example, if you put the person on a pedestal, okay, which means you're trying to get this person to come back in your life, or you're trying to, and again, I'm going to say this, and it's not a popular opinion, because most coaches will just kind of ignore the fact that you're in an abusive relationship. You're like, I just want this person back in my life. You were in an abusive relationship. That means you have a belief that you deserve that abuse. Get away from them. There's 8 billion people in this world. Somebody else can make you feel just as loved, just as excited, right? And they're like, no, it's just this one person. Really? One person? You're going to limit the universe to one person? No. Like, basically, yeah, yes, can these people change? Of course. But does that mean you hold on to them? No. That doesn't mean, in fact, the whole thing about manifestation is that you let go of it. You let go of the old story, which means you have to let go of that version of them. And sometimes to let go of that version of them, you have to let go of the whole relationship. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it sucks, right? And it's going to hurt for a while. Like, I mean, maybe even years. I have no idea what your process of mourning is. But that does not mean that you go back and try to manifest somebody who has abused you, or that you go and manifest somebody who has mistreated you, right? You need to go back and say, why was I in a relationship where I think that the person that abused me is the only thing that I'm worth, right? And by the way, did you hear that? Your self-concept is, I'm only worthy of abusive people. Right? I'm only worthy of people who abuse me. That's what you're saying. And so guess who you're going to find next? Unless you deal with this, you're going to find only people who abuse you or neglect you or mistreat you. That's not what manifestation is about. And yes, I'm one of the first coaches who will tell you, get out of those abusive relationships. Do not try to manifest them back. Leave them alone, right? You do not deserve that. Change your self-concept that you deserve people who abuse you. That is not what you deserve. That is not what they deserve. They deserve to be healed as equally as much as you do, right? You deserve a self-concept that says, I deserve somebody who loves me. I deserve somebody who celebrates me, right? And if it's not that person, move on. I'm not saying it's easy, but you need to change your self-concept, right? So, all right, soapbox done. Move back to what we were just talking about, okay? And if you are listening, go ahead and just give that thumbs up, like, or whatever that helps the algorithm push this out. Thank you, by the way. And thank you, Godzilla. So again, let's go back to this. Because as you know, I kind of start with some other thing that doesn't look like I'm connecting these dots. But we are connecting dots, okay? So again, second causes has nothing to do with what somebody else is. So like, for example, I wrote an article, and the article was about neuroscience and using tips from behavioral science. Hey, John, how you doing? And so I was talking about behavioral science, right? And we were talking about how in behavioral science, okay, you basically create, right, habits, and you create a motivational routine every day. And so somebody thought, oh, well, that was a second cause. No, it's only a second cause if you think you need to do it to create things in your world, right? And so it's only a second cause if you think that you, right? If you think, hey, Yemity, hey, welcome to the channel. And so it's only second causes, right? If you think that you need that to create things, right? So that means that's the only time if you're using something. And so again, keep in mind, anything in your life can be a second cause to motivate you to do something, and that you depend upon that because you think you need that to create something, right? And so then it becomes like an addict, where you think, okay, I need this one thing to then either feel confident, or I need this one thing to create a better habit, or I need this one thing to be a better person, or I need this one thing to have this other person come back in my life. Are you with me? And so I want to encourage you to not look at second causes as a problem, only if it's something that you need, right? If you think that you can't live without it, or that you need it as a rite of passage to get you to where you need to go, then that's when you need to rethink, okay, am I giving my power away to this thing, to this action, to this emotion, to this memory? Because that's what a second cause is when you're giving your power away to a childhood memory or a traumatic moment, right? And so, and obviously that's not what you want for yourself. That's not what I want for you, right? And so, what you need to do though is, so a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get out of this? Like, right? And so, and see, oh, actually you are. Everybody's dependent on something. So I would actually call BS on that. Everybody's dependent upon something. Everybody has a habit. Even that is actually an identity. So even being a strong and independent woman, that's still an identity. So neuroscience shows that all identities are neural like molecules that are deployed. So that means you're getting rewarded, and dopamine and serotonin and a load of neuroscientific cocktails, right, within your mind saying you're a certain person, right? And you're getting rewarded for that, right? If you weren't, then you wouldn't think that you needed to be that way, right? And so there's something within your childhood or a series of experiences or a series of relationships or friendships or, dating relationships that have taught you that you need to be a strong, independent woman, right? And it could be a religious thing. It could be non-religious. It could be childhood experiences. It could be anything, right? And so, again, probably not. You actually don't. You think you do, right? And so dopamine is just an expectation neuromolecule. What that means is you are getting dopamine and reward by saying stuff like that. So it's not even true. It's just that you're getting rewarded for it, so you think it's true. So again, this goes back to being an addict, right? So we are addicted to certain identities. And so the more we practice them, the more we get dopamine, right? So that's the thing that you need to be fully aware of. So even if you're manifesting something, you have to understand that you're manifesting and creating from an identity, right? And so that identity is what you're experiencing. And so you will only experience what you believe, right? And so the more you practice these beliefs, the more you become that person, okay? And that's why you need dopamine rituals, because you want to always be creating from a future version of yourself. So in psychology, it's called the future version, right? And so you always need a future vision of yourself. Right? And so again, and by the way, there's actually nothing wrong with thinking that you're that. It's when you think you need to compare yourself to others, right, where that becomes a problem. Because if you at all compare yourself from yourself to another person, then you don't believe it. Comparison is about disbelief. There's loads of research on this, right? And so if you constantly are, because right now in your language, you're saying that you're better than everybody, that's a comparison statement. That means you really don't believe it, right? Because if you feel like you need to compare yourself, and by the way, American culture is predicated on the fact that you usually need to compare yourself. Are you keeping up with the Joneses? Do you have a bigger house than your friend? Do you have a bigger car? Do you have a bigger, right? And so all the social pressure, it creates an identity. So then you start thinking, I need to be doing this. And then when you're not, then you feel less than, right? So then if you don't have enough money, then your friends do. Or if you don't have enough objects, or if you don't have enough toys, whatever it is, right? So in the 80s and 90s, there was this social phrase that said, he who dies with the most toys wins. That's very much indicative of the American mindset, of the American dream, which is acquisition, right? And so if you start identifying as a person who says, I need to acquire things to be who I am, that is the wrong person that you need to be, right? Because you're gonna get addicted to then acquiring things. But then what happens if you lose all of that in a fire? What happens if you don't have everything? Then you become, and you feel less than. So again, comparison is not where you want to be, okay? Because that means you lack it, okay? So they did this research project, true story, and it's all about comparison. And they took, I think it was like 15 to 20 girls, right? And I have a link for this, okay? And they were in their 20s. And they all created their own like social media avatar, okay? And so the avatar is the picture of, the avatar was a picture of themselves, but it's like that cartoon version of themselves, right? How you create like the perfect version of yourself, and it's like your like Facebook profile, or it's your Instagram profile, right? And they all created the perfect image of themselves. And then they hooked up electrodes to their brain, okay? So what was very, very interesting is they measured their emotional response every single time they saw their avatar. So every time they went to Facebook and they saw that little cartoon picture of themselves, right? And that cartoon picture, by the way, was chosen by them. So they used this perfect version of themselves, okay? And then what they ended up doing is they ended up actually finding out that they were feeling depressed. So why would they feel depressed, right? Well, what they found out after interviewing all of them is they were comparing themselves against this avatar version of themselves, right? That they themselves created, that was meant to be the perfect version of themselves, okay? And it actually created not just like the experience of depression, but actual neuromolecular depression, which means they were feeling it, right? They were actually depressed because they were comparing. So that's a great example of why you don't want to compare. So you don't want to keep up with the Joneses, right? You want to just, if you want to believe your God tier, do it for the sake of yourself, no one else, not even your spouse. No one else benefits from that except you. They will benefit as long as you don't come at it from a cocky point of view, right? And so that's the main thing, right? Meaning no one can take your power. That's a good place to be. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when you start saying, well, I'm God tier in comparison to everybody else, you've actually lied to yourself. Because like psychology says that if you are feeling the need to compare yourself all the time, well, actually not even all the time, just regularly, right? And you're saying, oh, I'm not this, or I'm not that, or you're in a state of looking at what you are and what you're not, that's already telling you the belief system that's embedded within your own mind. And by the way, that most likely comes from childhood experiences or some sort of trauma. Not that you have to go through trauma to get there, right? Or because you've been taught to watch certain movies, and those certain movies have certain values, and those certain values have certain value systems. But within that value system has an identity, right? Yeah, no, I know you were trolling. I just didn't care. That's how manifestation works. You just ignore what you don't want in your world, right? Yeah, no, and I mean, if you're interested, subscribe. I mean, you know, I'm in the field where I'm kind of mixing the idea of manifestation with neuroscience and psychology. And so, you know, so I'm dealing with a lot of trauma, believe it or not. Like I actually have clients right now that I'm helping through trauma. And I'm being very serious about that. Like, they have loads of childhood trauma. And so that's what I do as a coach. But yeah, no, I mean, it's totally interesting because we live in a culture that wants you to compare. We live in a culture that wants you to think that you need a bigger house to be happier. We live in a culture that thinks that you need to have Botox to feel ageless. And for the most part, sadly, it ruins people, right? Because it gives people a false sense of identity. And even if their Botox goes well, they're still, like, I mean, who was it? I think Jennifer Aniston said that she regrets it, right? And so does Courtney Cox. I know they're both from Friends. I get it. But here are people within the industry who have money to be able to use it to change and alter their own faces and bodies to make themselves appear, not feel, right? But appear younger, okay? But again, that's because we have this comparison culture that we worship, okay? And so we need to get rid of that and jettison anything that isn't helpful, no matter what you're dealing with, because what we do then is we create our own mental health crisis. And so that's what's happening, right? We create the issues that we are like we ourselves don't agree with, but yet we'll justify them. Why? Because we have a strong identity. We have a strong identity of lack. So meaning our like, and I used to do marketing for like 10 years, right? And so the whole, like, at least online marketing. So the whole premise of online marketing is you don't have it, so you need it. You lack this, so therefore you must have this to like, you must buy this item. You must purchase this item, right? And so if you look at this, like I actually challenge you, look at advertising, right? For more than like 15 minutes. Just turn on your television and watch it. Look how the messages, right? Look how the messages are predicated on what you don't have. Like the message is, buy this product and you'll be happier. Right? Buy this pizza, buy this house, buy this car, buy this medicine, buy this and that and blah, 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 right? And so the whole thing though wants you to feel the lack. Dude, I used to coach people in how to use marketing techniques and how to make people feel like they're less than. Okay, so I know this. I was paid and very well to actually manipulate human behavior. Right? And I won't do it anymore. It's unethical to me, right? And so, you know, you have to be very aware of what's going on, right? The whole marketing system functions on you, let me just say it very graphically speaking, functions on you feeling like shit about yourself, right? And so that's what you need to get rid of. That's what you need to get rid of. And so in Neville Goddard's world, and if you don't know anything about him, by the way, because I know you're listening and thank you for listening, right? He's all about you filling yourself with goodness. You're filling yourself with love. You are filling yourself with God tier, right? God tier mentality, right? And so that means you're telling yourself the story that you are always better. You are always a person who doesn't need anything. You are always a person who is loving yourself. You are always a person who's celebrating yourself. You're always a person who's powerful, right? And so, yeah, by the way, honestly, what you just said right now is why the monks, like the ancient religious monks, did what they did. True story. If you read half of the work of any religious monk, whether they be Christian, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. A lot of their work will say that they left civilization because they were depressed. Like, or because their value system didn't measure up against the value system of that time, right? And so they were like, no, dude, like I'm done. Like I'm burnt out and I need something different. And I want to find this object, this thing called God, right? Which again, for a channel like this, you are God, right? So I'm totally on board with you saying that you're God tier, but at the same time, you don't want to come off cocky, right? You don't want to come off like, well, whatever. Like Neville says, listen, know that you're God, but you don't need to go tell other people about that, right? Know that you're God within. So stick with that, right? Run with that. You know what I mean? And so, you know, but in a culture that keeps saying otherwise, you're not God. You need this to feel like God. Because that's really what they're saying, right? Because God in Neville's world is just anything that satisfies you. So God to other people is something outside of you, like a dude up in the sky, like Thor or Zeus, or like all of this kind of stuff, or like a white bearded dude like Zeus, right? And it's not. You are God. You hold the power. And so when Neville says, listen, don't give your power away, that's what he means by second causes, right? Don't give your power away. And why am I saying create dopamine rituals, right? And I'll be going off in about 10 minutes. And if you're looking for coaching, get in touch. I have payment plans. I do coaching on the regular. I've coached people all the way up from the United Nations to Los Angeles Film Company people. Like, it's just what I do. And I love what I do and I'm good at what I do, right? And I'm not saying that to be cocky. I just know what I'm great at and that's what I'm good at. And so, dopamine rituals though are things practices that you do every day, but never do, and they give you dopamine, but never do dopamine from old habits, old ways of seeing yourself. Always do dopamine rituals from the new self. Okay, so if you want to manifest being rich, then you're going to make decisions that will give you dopamine based on the new identity of being rich. If you want that special person back in your life, then you're going to be doing dopamine rituals based on having that person already in your life now. That's how you manifest, by assuming that you already have it in your life, no matter what it is: confidence, love, the house that you want, the car that you want. So then how would you be? Well, you're going to create a dopamine rituals, or a set of them every single day, right? That's going to make you feel like you already have that house, that you already have that confidence, that you already have a better way of seeing life, or that you feel like you already have the adventure that you crave, or that you already have those friends that you want. So then how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to create dopamine rituals about being a friend. Well, that means go and be a friend, because manifestation is about embodiment. You're being the thing now, right? And you're making decisions from that perspective only. You're not making decisions from lack or from fear or from identity, right? If you want to know how adrenaline, fear, and dopamine were intended to be used, go hiking. Oh, dude, I do that. That's what I do. So I'm a professional hiker, rock climber, outdoorsman. I know outdoor survival. I've taught people about it, right? So for me, nature is huge. So that's my church. I don't go to church. I don't believe in going to church. I don't believe you know to go to church to find out that you're God, right? I don't believe in church at all, actually. But for me, the closest thing to church is going in the outdoors, right? Hiking, challenging myself with like rock climbing, right? And, seeing them as opportunities, right? And so, I would challenge you to create dopamine rituals though, not from old habits, not from old identities, not from childhood trauma, not from fears. Never do that. Create dopamine rituals from the future version of yourself, right? So I don't want a house payment or a car payment. I make $1,000 a year and shit feels stupid. So what do you mean by that though? Like, are you making that now, or are you saying you want to manifest that? And when you say that you're not making a house payment or car payment, what do you mean it feels stupid? Like, you mean you're just not in line with the culture that believes you should do that, right? Because that's super interesting, by the way. So I'd love to hear what you mean by that. Thank you for sharing, by the way. But yeah, I mean, all right. So while you're writing, create dopamine rituals from the future version of yourself. That's it. Like that, like create serotonin rituals, which means, like, for example, serotonin rituals and what's the difference? Well, dopamine makes you feel rewarded. Serotonin makes you feel happy, right? Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome, by the way. Congratulations. What you want to do though is serotonin rituals is really have to do with people, right? And oxytocin. So oxytocin is the bonding neurochemical. A lot of people know of oxytocin because it's released when a mother is holding its like newborn. Everybody knows that example, right? Oh, and I just want to sell my stuff. And by the way, you can manifest that. Neville Goddard, by the way, actually tells a story of a guy who did just that. He's like, I don't want to work anymore. So he manifested this money rolling in. I think it was like some dead relative. And it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars. He didn't even know them. And they left him this money. And he didn't work for like 10 years or something like that, or like quite a few years. And then somebody got a hold of him and said, hey, I love what you do. Like, do you want to work? And he knew he didn't, but he wanted to work by then. So he was like, okay. And he still had that money rolling in. But then he just chose what he wanted to do. So I'd encourage you to actually try to manifest that. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I help people in my coaching program do, to find out clarity in their own life decisions, but also with using neuroscience and behavioral science and social psychology and Neville Goddard's work on manifestation. But like, basically, but you can manifest that. Like, imagine that you've done that and that you feel stress-free. Right? Imagine yourself on a beach, or well, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's the mountains because you like nature, right? So imagine you are wherever you want to be in the world. It doesn't matter where it is. and imagine it from the first person. Give yourself one single like action to repeat itself, and go and do that, right? And then it'll show up in your world. I guarantee you that, right? And you just keep repeating that scene every single day in and day out, and repeat the emotions throughout the day, right? Not to the point of exhaustion, but you just kind of like, if it ever comes up and doubt comes up, then you repeat the scene, let it go, move on, right? And so, because that's what I want for you, and that's what you want for yourself. So I'm telling you it's possible, right? And I believe it's possible for you. And you would create dopamine rituals from the person who's like, hey, I'm not working. I'm living my own life, and I'm living the best life. So what would you do tomorrow? Like, and that's a challenge, but that's also an encouragement, right? Oh, well then definitely create a scene where you're doing that, where you're actually doing so. And also check out RJ Spina, S-P-I-N-A, RJ Spina. He talks about how he healed himself from like a handful of disease that doctors were like, no, that's impossible. And so, you know, it's about seeing yourself whole. But again, if you think you're God tier and you're having that, there's a part of you that doesn't believe you're God tier, right? Because, you know, it's a self-concept thing, right? And so we only manifest from self-concept. Does that make sense? And so, like, you have a self-concept that's, hey, I'm God tier, but that means your body isn't God tier. There's some sort of separation there. Either you've been taught to hate your body, or you've bought into an idea within culture that's like you need to feel separate from your body, or whatever it is. It could be a small belief, or it could be something where you were taught to distance yourself from your body because you had a traumatic experience, right? There's a great book, The Body Keeps the Score. Amazing if you haven't read that book, right? That's all psychology, full on, but it's very powerful. It's freeing for people who have like things like nerve damage, all of this kind of stuff, right? Because I believe that you can actually heal yourself from this. And I'm not saying that as like BS, blowing smoke up your ass. I actually believe that you can fully heal from that, right? And so, and by the way, listen, that's not me judging you. That's not me judging you at all, right? And so the very fact that you are very aware of what you just said is the first step. Like, in the biblical sense, that's your salvation, right? Because you know where you are, right? But since you know where you are, and Neville says you need a clear desire, all right, well, you have a clear desire, which is, I don't want to feel that way anymore. I want to feel what I feel like when I'm in the woods, right? So do your scene from you just meandering and roaming in the woods, doing whatever you want to do, and make it like the best scene you've ever thought of, and whatever that means for you, right? And then you actually feel that, right? And you actually feel it real. You feel the emotions of it to the point where you know it's going to happen. It's going to show up in your world. So it's not about just feelings, because the feeling has to lead to conviction, which means knowing. I know I'm this person who doesn't have nerve damage, right? And you accept it, right? And I can't give you a timeline, but I guarantee you it will happen if you hold on to it. And you keep repeating this with that physical action in your imagination from the first person. And then every single day you start adding an action that you can do and can perform, right? Maybe if you can make it to the woods, it doesn't matter how many times, but then you feel that while you're at the woods, or you feel that anticipation when you're on the way to the woods, whatever it is, right? You know what I mean? We're just people. The word doesn't owe us anything. No. And you're right. The world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe it to yourself, right? And you owe it to your imagination, because the imagination is God. And that thing creates, and it's always creating. We're always creating, because imagination just means meaning. We're always giving meaning to stuff. So give meaning to your body that you always feel powerful every day, right? And that you feel so much joy because you feel free from the 9 to 5. And that you feel so purposeful. So give yourself that gift every day. So that's why I was saying, when you're doing dopamine rituals, which is, I wanted to jump on and talk about this anyways, and serotonin rituals, right? Serotonin rituals means like when you're going on a dance floor, or you're spending time with other people, or your friends, or whatever it is, right? But you're doing it from the future version of yourself. You're not doing it from the current version of yourself where you're analyzing all the pain. I know it's hard. Don't let me, like, you know, I'm not trying to minimize that. But where you are actively involved, right, in becoming and being and participating in the future version of yourself that doesn't have nerve damage, right? And lo and behold, something will happen. Something will happen in your world that will lead you to a conversation. It will lead you to a better feeling. It'll lead you to a doctor. Because I don't get to judge your situation. I don't get to judge how this being or the inner self, whatever you want to call it, love, God, brightness, light, whatever, right, will choose for you the path to your healing. But you will have healing, right? And it might lead you to a series of dietary choices, or it might lead you to exercise. It might lead you, whatever it is, right? That's one thing I don't get to tell you what it is, but I can say with like confidence, like it will happen. And I believe that for you, and I want to help you manifest that with you, right? And assume that you're already healed, because you deserve that, right? You know. And so, yes, the world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe it to yourself, right? You owe it to the inner self. And that's the most powerful thing you'll ever meet on this earth and within yourself. And it's always creating. It's creating from your beliefs, right? So there must be a belief somewhere that you might want to go and deep dig into, where it's like, my body, I have like either like body dysmorphia, or you were taught as a child to distance yourself from your body because traumatic experiences. Don't share if you don't want. But get in touch or whatever if you do, right? That's awesome. That's awesome, because I was going to go to the exercise, cold plunging. That's awesome, because cold plunging actually does, I know the actual neuroscience about cold plunging and food and diet and all this kind of stuff, and exercise. Like, for example, exercising helps you delay discount, which is a term. You can actually Google it, delay discounting. And that means it will actually help you be more patient, right, in decision making, right? Cold plunging helps down-regulate free radicals in your body, right? And the free radicals, by the way, also come into your body because of our mucous membrane, right? And usually that means one of our mucous membrane or these mucous walls in our body is broken down, right? And there's things like zinc, for example, supplements that you can take that can help you. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you doctoral or doctoral advice. I'm just helping you with things that I've used, okay? I'm not a therapist. I'm not yes, I'm trained social psychologist. I'm trained behavioral scientist, trained in neuroscience, right? Hello, X. And so, you want to do those things, right? But every time you do them, you want to feel the feeling of already being fully healed. You don't want to just do them, right? Because otherwise, then that comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is your second causes. What are you giving your power away? Do you think you need to do them? No, you don't. You don't need to do anything to actually feel like you don't have it. You can feel like you don't have it by feeling like you don't have it. I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm saying now that you're doing them, feel like when you do them, you are already that person. Does that make sense? Right? And yes, yeah. So I actually read an article that a guy had Raynaud's syndrome, and which is like when you're in cold climates, it like your fingers will turn blue, your face might turn blue, your nose will turn blue. You look like a Smurf, right? And he basically cold plunged for 6 months straight, right? After 6 months, full on reversed it. Now, I say reversed it, but he stopped it, right? And he might have not done it long enough, but he said after the 6 months, he just stopped doing it. He lost interest or whatever. He got burnt out. And then it actually came back. Donovan, what's up? But that goes to show you that, if you commit to yourself. But my encouragement to you is to see yourself as the person without nerve damage as you step into, right? And feel it, like literally not force yourself, but like feel the feeling of the confidence of like, oh my gosh, I feel really good. Like this is the person that would feel just like this, right? And you're intensifying it and you're drenching it. And you're like, I feel the person who's free of nerve damage. This feels amazing. And then plunge, right? And so that's what you want to do. You want to repeat it, right? And you want to repeat this day in and day out, right? Read the work of Joe Dispenza if you're not familiar with his work as well. He's very similar to me in that he uses neuroscience, right? And so, yeah, Donovan. So, yeah, hope that's helpful in some way. You know what I mean? Because I want that for you. And, you should want it for yourself because you deserve it, right? And it does come from a place of deserving, meaning you should know that you deserve this, right? And come from the assumption when you go into these imaginary scenes that I'm encouraging you to use, right? Kind of, yeah, kind of. I mean, like, you want to intensify it, right? And so Neville had a breathing technique, which really, like, if you take it this way, and you may have heard of this as well, is that Wim Hof, right? Wim Hof, and I love him. That's full on. I'm not joking with you, and you could actually do research on this. Wim Hof has this breathing technique, and that's the same exact one that Neville was doing before Wim Hof was even alive, right? And it's an ancient Buddhist breathing practice called Tummo, T-U-M-M-O. It also means inner fire. So after I knew about Wim Hof, I did some research, and I bought the book Inner Fire. There's actually a book called Inner Fire, and it's all about Buddhism and the breathing technique of inner fire, which is this breathing technique. And what you're doing is every single time you're intensifying the feeling of health, or you're intensifying the feeling of being rich. Now, crazy thing is, Tony Robbins does this. Guarantee you Tony Robbins knew about Neville Goddard. In fact, he actually talked about him one time, right? And so Tony Robbins does this breathing technique every single day, right? And so, you know what I mean? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, subscribe if you want. I mean, I have loads of stuff like this on my channel. I try to stay away from the woo-woo side of manifesting, right? Yes. So, yeah, Wim Hof does that. He actually did Everest barefoot and with no shirt on, right? And so, want to encourage you not to do that. Actually, no, you could do whatever you want. And I really believe that. And change your modal operators. I'm gonna have to go, but like change your modal operators. That's a term from NLP, right? From neuro-linguistic programming. And modal operators mean, okay, stop using the word can't and won't and shouldn't and impossible, okay? Because your brain hears those and believes them for you. Okay. And the first thing Neville says is you have to see this desire as possible, right? And if you're trying to manifest and you go straight in, not believing this is possible, you're going to be working against yourself. So change your modal operators. This is why I said, create dopamine and serotonin rituals from the future version of yourself, right? That's really changing your language of saying, dude, I can do this. I'm going to do this. This will happen. I've done it. It's done. That's what Neville says. Treat everything that you're manifesting like a past memory. And I'm going to go over that tomorrow. How to create a past memory, how to react to things like they're a past memory from it being a past memory, right? But thank you all for being on, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah, and don't buy into the word impossible. I don't care what it is. Neville says that you should actually start your day every day as if you are invincible. Those are his words. Invincible in having your house, invincible in your health, invincible in having your car, invincible in having your SP back, whatever it is, nothing can touch you. He always says it this way, and I love it. And I'm going to end with this, okay? Always feel like you have an ace up your back sleeve, like in your back pocket. Okay, sorry, I butchered that, right? But you always want to feel like that. You always want to feel like that every single day. No matter what's going on in your life, you always want to, why? Because God, the inner self, love, whatever, is manifesting for you based on your beliefs. So that's always happening. So that means you always get to choose your beliefs every single day. You get to. It's an opportunity, right? So much love to you all. Please, if you want to join the free Discord group, let me know. If you can't get the link, because sometimes Discord shuts that down, definitely hit me up on my email, which is on my bio right here. If you're looking for coaching, hit me up on my bio at the email, unless you just want to join the free Discord and just join people like you, like that are awesome and want great things for themselves. So much love to you all. Thank you all for jumping on. I wish you all the best. Please manifest great things for you all. And I will be on tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Much love.